Our purpose in coming here was to do what? Go where?
I guess there wasn't a purpose. There wasn't a purpose whatsoever to come up here.
So we're wasting time, valuable time we ought to be spent looking for your daughter.
I'm trying to think of places where I know she's been.
You're not answering my question. Do you want us to help?
Yes,
you want to help us find your daughter?
I do want you to
Well,
help.
then you need to help. A good starting point would be to answer the questions, okay? If I say to you, we're here because, and then you just ignore that, like as if I never asked it, and go off in some other direction, does that answer the question?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go through this again. We're here because we got your house. To do what?
Because I lied. Because I brought you up here. And honestly, I was reaching for
No, stop right
another
there.
avenue.
I want you to tell me how lying to us is going to help us find your daughter.
It's not going to.
Huh?
It's not going to.
We are taking your calls. 600 documents released by police. Straight out to Mark Williams of WNDB News Talk 1150. You called her the text message queen. The content of many of those texts.
Well, the content, Nancy, of course, was she always complained about working long and difficult hours, not being with her daughter. The other thing is
she didn't have a job. Who was she telling? I saw where she said she was working 12-hour stretches. Who was she telling that lie to?
She was telling that to Amy Heisinger, her best friend at the time. Also, she also apologized for, since she was working these long hours, she couldn't party. She was, you know, her life was just upside down, and she couldn't wait to find a job to work regular hours like everybody else does. Instead
of her demanding job at Universal, a.k.a. sitting at home on her parents' sofa, texting out to the lines. Hold on. I want to go to Kathy Bellich with WFTV. Kathy, how is it that all of these documents were released?
Well, actually, this is part of the discovery process, which I'm sure you're familiar with. The defense has gotten these documents, and then they become public records. So that's why they were released today. At some point, they had to redact all the personal information, and then they were public record.
Out to the lines, Judy in Georgia. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Nancy. Great show.
Thank you, dear.
Has any of the psychologists or psychiatrists ever tested her or considered her as a multiple personality disorder?
What do we know about that, Kathy?
I don't think that that's ever come up. I have heard so many different theories. A veteran prosecutor in town uses the word sociopath, which her mother has used, and you've used it. Some other of your guests have used it. What I have heard is that kind of personality. The only time that a person who is a sociopath shows emotion is when it has something to do with them. And if you look at a lot of this information, you know, you might come to that conclusion.
To Mark Williams, the question is, has there been a psychological evaluation? It's my understanding that was part of the conditions of her bond.
That was part of the conditions of her bond and home confinement. Those issues in that test, the results of those tests, sent up to the 5th District Court of Appeals in Daytona Beach, and they were sealed. They have not been released whatsoever, Nancy.
To Leonard Padilla, bounty hunter out of Sacramento that initially posted a $500,000 bond to get Mom Casey out from behind bars. He's come off that bond. Mr. Padilla, I want to go back to a question. I believe it was from Denise in Maryland. What about the theory that she would drug the child with chloroform that could be revealed in videos from these clubs or other places? I know it's tenuous, but what about it?
Well, that's a very accurate question that she made, a good question, because law enforcement has checked basically a lot of the video cameras in, like in the Target parking lot and other areas where she was constantly at. And they've also taken, you know, in Florida, you have the little white box where you go through without throwing the quarters in the machines.
Yes.
That also gives you another breadcrumb trail as to where she was at certain times by taking that and unloading the information off it, because it's all saved in a master computer. So as far as where she was and at what time she was, it's very accurate. But the most telling thing of those 600 pages that were released today is the fact that she's already preempting if somebody smells the car, and she's doing it as of the 27th, exactly. And she's preempting it even further back to the 5th of June.
Exactly. Exactly. I find the single most probative item in the 600 pages that she acknowledges the smell of decomposition in her own car. And we see the date. We see the date that she starts spinning that story. Agree, disagree?
Absolutely. She's thinking, somebody's going to come by here because I'm going to have to get gas. Somebody's going to help me. Somebody's going to smell it. I got to come up with a story. And she comes up with I think it's on the 27th, she says, I got a couple of squirrels that were killed. At one point she says they were nesting under there and died. And even Lee afterwards, a month later, she says that the situation had developed as early as June. So she's not exactly the psycho queen that everybody wants to make her out. She's thinking constantly on her feet, like, where do I go with this smell? What do I do? Somebody's going to come with a can of gas. What do I do?
You know, I find it also interesting. Let's unleash the lawyers. Eleanor Dixon, Richard Herman, Ray Giudice. Eleanor, at one juncture, she told people that the baby was at the beach with the nanny, and she showed up on Amy Huizinga's doorstep saying, can you take me to Target so I can buy a gas can? For what? Isn't that an odd request?
It is an odd request. And when are you going to, I mean, did you run out of gas right in front of your best friend's house? Why is that going on? That's a good piece of evidence. Along the best piece of evidence I like for the prosecution, she didn't take any of the child's stuff with her from the house.
You know, to Richard Herman and Raymond Giudice, I'll start with you, Richard. When there is not a corpus delicti, when there is not a body in a murder case, cases are still made and proven and convicted.
Absolutely, Nancy. Strong circumstantial evidence will get that conviction. And based on everything we've seen so far and the alleged DNA, you know in your heart you would have indicted her already for murder. They have not done that. There's a problem with the police in Orlando. I'm telling you, they don't have the goods on her yet.
Raymond?
Well, let me say that there are rare cases where a murder case conviction is obtained without a body, but even rarer are those with no crime scene or no crime weapon. Those three pieces put together is the reason there's no indictment.
That is a good point. And it is not rare, however, for there to be a murder case without a body.
I completely agree, but not all three.
Well, you just said the exact opposite. So when you make up your mind...
I'm sorry. What I'm saying is without a crime scene, without a weapon, and without the body, that's a rare case to be made.
Agree. To Martin Williams, what else did you see within the text messages? I mean, there are hundreds of them, mostly to various men.
Yeah, and the big thing is that, you know, again, she just keeps talking about how she has to work all these long hours. Again, she's not working. There's nothing in there about Caylee. But one thing that came up in the documentation, in an interview with Tony Lazzaro, the investigators interviewed him, and he said Casey would wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats, saying that she was having literally a nightmare. So that figures into the equation as well, Nancy.
To Vince Velasquez, homicide detective out of Atlanta, with so many conflicting stories and so many reams of documents, how do police investigators go through and make an accurate and comprehensive timeline?
Nancy, basically talking to all of her friends, cell phone records are going to be critical in this, and I understand that they are polygraphing a lot of these witnesses and friends to ensure that they're not on a wild goose chase. I want to comment, too, on this squirrel issue with the squirrel under the car. Where's the squirrel? What happened to it? The police took this car. There's no mention of any remains of a dead animal in the car. Where is that at? It's just total ludicrous. It's just not true.
Vince Velasquez with us from the Atlanta jurisdiction. Everybody, as we go to break, I want to wish a very special and happy birthday, happy 99th birthday, to my Aunt Ella Stokes in Jacksonville, Florida. She never misses a show. Aunt Ella at 99, what an inspiration you are to the rest of us. Happy birthday. And now, at your request, more pictures of the twins. Lucy eating a Cheerio this morning at the park. Refusing their hats.